In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced. In honor and the presence of the original being of this world, the unconditional original moment where all simulated moments have arose after. I would like to speak about, I guess, pretty much epistemology and ontology, but in my own way. And uniquely, there is a humorous angle to this episode. I've written the sentence, remember, I first wrote, remember how great humanity was? Like I thought of that sentence. Then I thought, remember how great humanity was in the future. Then I changed the title to that, right? So I was like, yo, man, remember how great humanity was in the future? I thought it was like there was a hilarious twist. It was a sentence where the ending changes it, right? Remember how great humanity was in the future. Now, I thought of like, okay, now the meaning of this is getting a little bit blurry because if what the word remember is telling you refer to the past, but it's saying remember how great humanity is in the future. The whole, and then I've written the roles of our lives or the role of our lives. I'm going to talk about that. But first, guys, this sentence you don't understand. Like, if I was a fisherman, this would be like a rare sighting of a whale. You know, if I was an astrophysicist, I don't know, it's a comet like outside of my window. You know what I mean? So this is rare. Okay, this is a very rare, I guess, title and use of the English language. It's like, yo, man, remember how great humanity is in the future, you know? And there's something very crucial to that, okay? We are here to play a specific game in existence. There has been 117 billion humans. Currently, there's 8.1 billion humans alive. 7% of all human beings, considering a 300,000 year old civilization range. You are among the 7% of all human beings that have ever existed or currently existing. And so many, it's in the range of billions of human beings. I was born on December 17, 1991, 9 a.m. in Tehran. In this lecture, you're listening to a context shifter. Everybody we know, everybody, let's just start from this, guys, all right? It's a story. You wanted to know what knowledge is, it's the story, right? Epistemology is the story we tell ourselves. Ontology is what is actually there beyond the story happening. Society tells you a story. Everything is designed in languages because there's sequence. You know, that means this whole time you've been thinking, no, man, language is just what I speak. No, culture is a behavioral language. And many people don't know what they're saying in the sense of they don't know why they're behaving the way they are. You see, to be a human being is one of the most fascinating opportunities to wonder about the nature of the whole system. That means I was like, wait a minute, what am I being entitled to as a consciousness that logs in to the experience of existence? What are we all doing? Literally this morning, you know, I was listening to this channel called Theories of Everything, right? And this like, very smart like interviewer. Pretty much I was listening to a discussion and listening to the answers of um, philosopher of science, a notable one that's quite cited. And I was listening to this and I'm like, look at this, man. This guy has lived his whole life, you know, and it was a great interview. But it was like, I looked at it and I'm like, at the end of it, that we're still debating whether it's real or not. That's what annoys me. We should be couple steps ahead. The human life we're currently experiencing is very different. I've come to realize something very profound. The world in front of our eyes is like a parallel life that is happening is changing at a certain speed. Your mind behind your eyes, your inner realms, if I tell you, close your eyes and remember like an apple. Remember like in your memory in your childhood when you saw an apple. Okay, and remember like and visualize that apple floating in the air. If you can do that, your eyes are closed. There isn't light entering your eyes, yet you can seize a moment that no longer exists anymore. So it's not enough just calling it memory. It's not enough people saying, yo, man, I'm a thought and everything I believe it is a thought. And I'm a thought that thinks of other thoughts. I'm like, get out of here. What is this nonsense? Has the species been so ignorant that it has forgotten what it has been experiencing the whole time? In your inner realms, there's a parallel earth that's happening quicker, and it's like Photoshop. I can in my mind imagine like throwing my coffee cup, at the sky and it's shooting beyond the clouds. I can imagine that. And why is it that gravity doesn't instantaneously act upon our imagination? You see, it doesn't matter if where the human body came into position, the behavior of intelligence is surpassing the explanation of a body. You know what that means? That means your mind is connected to a server that is not limited to the law of nature. Deeper perspective, I don't know, it's easy for me to say, but I don't know if it's easy for others to hear. You know, Pretty much, you have been existing actually in two ways this whole time, but they don't tell you that. One way is that you're experiencing existence. The other way is you're existing experientially. These are the two ways. When I went into philosophy, I figured out what happened. At first I got angry and I was like, cowards, you know, where are the roars and the shouts of the continental philosophers? Where are all the unknownists? In a world getting suffocated by its projection of knowledge. Do you understand? If you're in a world and the way the world works is you got to find truth, it doesn't matter how you generate it. But if you work in a world where you can't find truth, you only generate it, it doesn't matter. Look for it, you have to generate the truth. And when you look at human life, it's a combination of these states. No, yo, man, I'm either good or bad. Excuse me. It's the other way around, folks. Everything is good and bad at the same time. for the conscious experience. I have looked into this very deeply to the degree that I can understand, the tears of Mother Teresa, and I can also understand the silence of Machiavelli. I can understand the ruthlessness, the chaos in this system, and I can understand the order. It's just that order gives us more access than chaos. And sure, yeah, you can make this kind of premise that, all right, man, if everybody's trying to be ordered with chaos, people are going to feel special. Being chaotic in an ordered civilization. That's for now. You have understood. In the far future, reality will have sectors. The punishment of the future will not be like jail or anything like this. You know, this is how pretty much in a very like this is a version of an advanced civilization I've written in my sci-fi about. You know, pretty much this is like part of my personal universe of envisioning the future. In the future, civilization is going to have more superior, more layers to its organizational structure, which means right now the conservatives look at liberals and they're like, "Yo, man, this young girl with tattoos and blue hair, which identifies as a man in some sense, like shifting culture into more emotionally and abstract validity rather than an actual. You know what it is like to conservatives? I understand the liberals are destroying the alphabet, which is the language of paper. You know how to speak. But at the same time, it is a strange situation. Why? Because it is not just people who are ruthless to the future. The future can be ruthless to people in the sense that the problem that right now is a big problem, we don't know about its evolution. When I was young, I always wondered why was I born in 1991? Why was I the first generation to experience Pokemon cards and like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z being like their first demographic? You know, and later on, I realized both shows, Dragon Ball Z and like Pokemon, the main fascination of youth was about the evolution of the character. The character reached a hard moment, a difficult situation. That difficulty was relatable, and then the character overcame the difficulty. In the same sense that right now, for example, there's people like probably listening to my talks, but they don't care to even comment or share or engage, you know, right? But the moment I complete the hero's journey, God willing, right, and I suddenly become actualized in not just in front of a small crowd, but in front of the whole species, the word Mr. Within is something becomes very day to day known. In the evenings, it's just a Mr. Withinian vibe. What I mean is, in the evenings, you wonder about the advancement of every day. Anyways, guys, what I'm saying is that it's like right now where I don't have the stuff that would make me important to like everyone on the planet. People do not they don't care. But I'm sure when suddenly the moment becomes important, they care because it's not your fault. Everybody's been conditioned to seek a greater value system. That's what it means. That means I can't blame terrified entities for surviving in unethical ways. Like I understand that, but the issue is the unethicalness of people cannot inhibit the potential and advanced civilization because I have boundaries when it comes to civilization. You know, in the future, the conservatives who are like, yo, this young girl should identify with her body, not her psychological body, not her subjective body. In that sense, that we open Pandora's box of a philosophical question: what constitutes the being? Are you a human because you have a body? Or are you human because you're aware, you have a mind? Or are you human because you exist in the design? You see, it's very difficult to kind of say, but ultimately we can say life is about the advancing management of shaped energy. That's it. And it's so fascinating because we take for granted the brain. You don't understand. There's so many people think spirituality has to mean like, yo, man, I saw something, or on the other side, and they're like, calm down, man. The person's like, no, I saw something. There's a spirituality of perceiving, let's say different archetypes aside, dehumanized archetypes beyond the veil and thinking you're communicating something to something intelligent. But in actuality, you're going to become way more fascinated if you begin to first realize you don't know who you are. This is the biggest thing. This is the hardest thing about life. As a man, this is the hardest thing for you to accept. You know, as a soul in this moment, this world, the hardest thing to accept is we know where we are. It is so difficult to accept that, but I have to because the rule commands it. The strength does not just come from, you know, raw power. It's like, yo, man, that guy's been, I don't know, eating like, I don't know, 20 raw eggs a day. Nah, that's a mental illness at that point. It's like, anyways, whatever. I'm saying the person's trying to be strong, not realizing when we don't know where we are, that is the chaos of it. You understand? That means it's like I open my eyes in the world and I notice, okay, we don't know where we are, so I try to solve the problem. Okay, where are we? What's exactly going on here, right? And because I haven't solved that problem and yet I need to survive and exist in this system, it breaks my heart that I have to, in some sense, accept my humanity without completely understanding. But I have no choice. This is the world we're in. Somebody in the chat section says, what about the neural network? If you're talking about the brain, I see it as an antenna. I see our physicality as a node. That means it's people see their body as their body. I see it as a reason to exist. But what is perceiving the value of existence? I have understood that there's an unconditional presence to the conditional human. That unconditional presence is similar to a field. And anybody who wants to listen to a lecture of me talking about, I called it the divine cognitive fields. You know, go check that out. Go check out that lecture because you're gonna see. But to me, this is my understanding. Existence is a manifestation in a field. I'll give you an example. Imagine there like four people are holding like this linen, like this rectangular linen or square linen, right? And then somebody throws like a basketball in the middle, or somebody throws a marble or something. It's like it's the same linen, however, the experience of that point that is now, like if you look at it from underneath the linen, you'll see like an extension, right? So you begin to see like it's not about even, it's like you can still be human and experience the humanized states. Being human is a reference position. It's a referential position. What's actually going on is a greater collaboration, and religious people are like, why? Why has God commanded in some sense for us to trust God, to have faith in this higher power? Why? The answer is very obvious. You need to have faith in the higher power so you don't doubt everything and trap yourself in simulated meaning. Just like, how do I say it? You look at young children, they have pure trust. The child doesn't understand physics. The father is like, you know, jump from like that. I saw a video on YouTube with pretty much this farmer and his daughter. Like the daughter went on this like blocks of hay, something, I don't know, compressed hay. And the child had pure faith, jumped into its father's arms, the father's arms. You look at children, they can't doubt the world yet. But the thing is, the way we understand the world is conditional. What we want is conditional, you know. And there came a moment in my life. I think it was 2014. No, no, no. I think it was 16 to 18. There came a point where I came across Carl Jung. I don't know when it was, but I came across Carl Jung and how he was talking about the major archetypes, and there was an archetype called anima animus. And then I began questioning as a psychological being, if I did not have a body, what would I identify as? And then it occurred to me, wow, could a field of awareness be identifying with a form of existence? That means that the shape of existence is the process of identifying the identification of the field itself. That means, in the same way, like right now, I feel like my mind is moving my body, like my intelligence is moving my body. In the same way, all existence can be seen to be the movement of an awareness now of that range. So it's positional, and we don't know what it means because in theologically, in the theologically, God imbued us with its own ends. You often hear me speak about reality as if it's an existential system, and there is a system admin, and the system admin is beyond the world known. To the system admin, there isn't limitations of time or linear time. We are conditional entities in a world with specific conditions. The world is bigger than us, and hilariously, the world, when it comes to knowledge and meaning and understanding, is in the alpha position, and we are in some sense followers of existential activity, being how the world changed and we responded. For me, about the true advancement of the species, nothing fascinates me. Actually, I'll tell you my list of fascinations. My first fascination is about trying to comprehend the future. And I have reached a certain perspective on it that you viewers might be thinking that the mind is in time, but the mind is not in time. The mind's interpreting time. The brain is happening. What is the force that moves the neuron? Now, okay, I don't know, we get into like mysteries of the hypothalamus and the amygdala, and in some sense, really, what is going on with this next level engineering that works, right? Because it's such a. All right, guys, we're back to continue. Pretty much, I'm trying to say that this is what I think is happening on Earth. Viewers can share their opinions. You are first named, treated as a concept by your family. So you are trained to know a story about yourself. And then, in some sense, you're trained in the story about the world. And your whole life, you're trying to fit your personal story into the story of the world. But what is the story of the world? That means to me, it feels strange. It feels like every human being is like a different thought of humanity. But what's the awareness? The awareness to all the thoughts are not there. I feel that it's just like in shows, like when we were young, like the Power Rangers, or I don't know, any like giant robot Gundam thing, like, or whatever. I don't know. Like the robots would assemble. You know what I mean? That means what I feel is going to happen in the future is massive waves and waves of organization. Okay, and right now we feel that the surveillance state is something bad because there is bad people, and that's a fair argument. What we don't understand, the inner realms are that is like your hidden life, and everything that anybody knows about you is how you have put an effort to express that inner self. Like when I was young, hilariously, I'll tell you, not only I was shy and introverted, there were times where I saw people be active and having personalities, right? I could acknowledge different personalities, but when I wondered about who am I, it was as if I did not have a personality. And I felt I was like this dull personalityless, you know, kind of just, you don't understand. The majority of my childhood, a lot of my memories are just observance. I wasn't participating in existence, but that kind of enabled me in my inner realms to move, and of course reality is different. This might sound strange, but for me a person's intelligence is the mercy of the systematic. That means knowing what to do is God's mercy. You might not believe this, but if human beings sped up their lives, they were healthier, and life was more advanced. And imagine you zoomed in on Earth, and you saw everybody was doing parkour. We had like some sort of jetpack, jumping like kind of civilization. In all educational systems, there would be obstacle courses. It's like there's going to be like, why is there no fat kids? In the future, there's going to come that debate. Is it weird that we are living so healthy and we're using advanced technology to live in such healthy ways? Anyways, what I'm saying is they shaped you, then they shaped how you saw the universe. And you have been living as that shape, trying to wonder about what's the meaning of your real shape. And it's okay. First thing you got to understand, the unknown is not an enemy. Everything you don't know now is not your enemy. Ladies and gentlemen, as a human being on Earth, as an explorer of the concepts and contexts of. I have. You might not understand. I'm something more than someone who studied humanity. I have, in some sense, shared the inner rhythms because meaning is another movement over the movement that is the shape of me. Sony, the chat section says, and speed leads to loss of aspect. I don't know what you mean by aspect, but the faster you go, you're right, the faster you go to the speed of light, you have to, time stops. And therefore, if we wondered about a civilization advancing faster than the speed of light, it would not be a shaped civilization, it would be a force. That means, guys, being human is a privilege. We're all forces. We got it upside down. We think we're we think we're forms, and then we're like, no, let's study forces. The forces of nature. We got it upside down. We are the unknown forces that are knowing form for some time, and then we return to that unknown force field, in the same sense that there was the original state, there arose a simulated state. In the simulation, the consciousness outside of the simulation is the original. In other words, how do I say it? If we're in a box, but the box is in the main room, it doesn't matter if like inside the box, the world is simulated. Outside of the box, it isn't. This is why the task of consciousness is routine. It's space, and in some sense realize that a form is the privilege of how the moment can occur, because we have to ask, are we aware of our causality? Like right now, me speaking to you, these words that are like I say, and like the sound that I make, like my speech, that's the result. What was the cause? And the cause is that there's an attributeless viewer, unknown viewing me, witnessing like this film of life happening simultaneously. And it's so weird because I can keep my eyes open and I'm still aware of my inner realms. I live differently in my inner realms, but you have to align the inner realms to the developments of the outer realms so far for conduct. You know, That means why any time traveler would go and live in the past, I don't understand. But if a time traveler comes and changes the past, I understand. See, think of it this way: there's a part of you that has form, and there's a part of you, the game of form and force, an unconditional force moving as a conditional form. The amnesia is divine. The transcendental amnesia is divine. I totally believe that the system admin decides how far we see. The system admin means the unconditional original state of reality that is administering reality, that is beyond time, that is beyond form, that is beyond our understanding of space as any form that notices space. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in the conditional side of the coin. The other side of the coin is unconditional. Any moment, our condition can stop, which is the idea we call death. So something is enabling the conditions of reality to occur. But there requires to be an effort because there's times in my life where I ask myself, how do I know that my future self will not understand, what I don't understand? Like how do I say it? Like my future self knows. Think of it this way. Some people are like, yo man, is it a sixth sense? And I'll be like, relax. It's not that even it's a sense. We are a being and we are a field. That means thoughts are the manifestations from that field. Before they are thoughts, before any ideas arise, it's a presence. And those who understand the presence of life live a completely different version of life, which I think is easier than those who are still identifying as an idea. That means the mystery is bigger, the problems have not been solved. It doesn't matter what era, generation, type of are, the macro questions have not been answered. So what are we doing to solve micro problems? Oh, humanity, identify as your species now. Begin to feel that you are not just a human that has your name. It's like sure you have a citizenship, you have various degrees of being acknowledged as a, let's say, subjective objective being. You know, but I'm telling you that you are the actual force of life, and you are experiencing the intelligent sector of life. Right now, I remember how great the future is. I don't. It's not like I remember how it was because I'm now here. It's because our minds are unconditionally contexted. The body is conditionally contexted. And I remember the future in the sense that the future will remember me as its memory. Like right now, I'm just trying to become a memory of the species. I'm already a memory for myself. The whole point of it is what is truly alive? What is the point of being in the position? And no one can be judged because we do not know what signals their antenna reads. I'm going to end the talk here. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced. Ladies and gentlemen, about the role of roles, I'll probably dedicate another talk to this, but it's about how life doesn't have meaning per se in regards to just what it is being. It is like what we do with what we're being while everything else is happening. It's about feeling the living collective event and how you are now manifest as a member of a species, and all of us will reach that conclusion that an advanced civilization is the most important idea on earth for humans, and then an even more important idea, which is the actual most important idea on earth, that an advanced civilization requires an advanced power. That means the only way we can build an advanced civilization if there is an already advanced power collaborating, which we're blessed to build the divine agency of our as a species. Anyways, thank you for listening. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. The system admin truly knows, is truly unconditional. And if we're conditional in a way where we can't know beyond these conditions, then we have to live, we have to move in ways we haven't before. Honor your eyes, for they are the gatekeepers of the future's world. Thank you for listening.